Hello there, this is Dr. Jimmy again, and this is Sunday the 13th day of November 2016. Halloween Horror Nights 26 ended, 1 week and 1 day ago. And people are already starting to speculate quite wildly about what's going to be next year. At Universal Orlando, Halloween Horror Nights 27. Subtitle inserted here, if any. Yeah, well, that's a good question. What will happen? But first, t-shirt of the day. Today's shirt is the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Diagon Alley opening t-shirt. Very nice. Hello. And, pardon me. I'm still suffering from the effects of that bad cough and that nasty cold that caused me to miss 9 nights of Horror Nights 26. However, I was able to attend every other night. 22 out of 31 nights. Which is better, I think, than I have past, so I'm not that disappointed. Oh, golly wolly. Maybe I should turn a light on. Might make it a little bit better. Cat. Hello, cat. Cat's here. Well, not too much of a difference. Maybe a little bit. It's a tad. Can you see me? Lurking in the shadows like a scary thing. Alright then. The event of Halloween Horror Nights 27. Many questions remain unanswered. I want to point out first of all, this is a speculation video. This is guesswork on my part. No, that was a cat. No inside information. I don't get that anyway. And of course, and there wouldn't be any anyway. The things, you know, by my calculations, the event will probably begin on September 15th. That's if it happens around the same time. That's a Friday, which would be 306 days from today. That's quite a lot of time. That's like, what is it, 10 months and 3 days, something like that. So it's a long time before the event begins, and if there isn't any inside information to be received anyway, they haven't figured it out themselves, I don't think. They're working on it, but I don't think they've even finalized anything. So who knows what they're going to do. Sorry about that. Ghastly. Sorry about that. There'll be a lot of coughing in this video. I hate to say that, but unfortunately it's the case. But I can still breathe, and hopefully I'll survive. If I don't survive, I'll come back as a ghost and tell you exactly what's happening from the other side. This is not an April Fool's joke. It's too early for that. But on April 1st, I do have a wonderful joke already planned. But this has nothing to do with that. This is my own actual best guess about some things which I think you're actually going to see next year. Plus, wild speculation. Some of it is quite silly. Stuff that has at least some potential of happening. Some things that probably never would happen, but there's reason to think that it's possible, but not very likely. So we'll get to all of that. So first of all, first question, where will the event be held? Will it be held at Universal Studios Florida, as it has been since the event returned there in 2006, or will they finally go back to Islands of Adventure over at we haven't seen it there since 2005. Or perhaps a bit of both parks used like they did in 2004. Will they go back to that concept? Logistically, the Islands is no longer quite a good place to do Horror Nights. Crowds and other problems, Harry Potter, all of that is reason why they might not do it there. But we are told by TJ Manarino that every damn year they do think about the possibility of putting it in the other park, or at least using two-park concept again. We're always told that, and that they always make a decision which one to do every year. And if that's the case, they're probably at this very moment making such decisions. But my gut feeling is we may not have it at Islands again ever, or at least not until a few years from now, and it'll probably still be right where it has been all these years in the studios. That's my gut feeling. I'll get back to this in a moment. Next question. will there be an icon, and if so, what sort of icon? Well, that's a good question. You know, when they first started using original icons, putting the Crypt Keeper aside and that sort of thing, in 2000 with Jack, the original icon concept was used every single year all the way to 2011. Of course, 2004 there was no event icon, but there was a presenting character who wasn't an icon in the parks, both parks that were used in 2004. Oddly enough, that mental patient was used as an icon somewhere else. It was used as the actual event icon for the event that year at what was then known as Universal Studios Por Aventura in Barcelona, Spain. Can be considered the first foreign icon, I suppose, before all the Singaporean icons that have come up in the past 6 years. But, you know, from the other version of the director up to and including Lady Death. So the original icon concept continues in Singapore, but in Orlando, what's been going on? Well, in even 2004, there was a strong iconic presence. Jack, the director, the caretaker, all had their own appearance in a haunted house, Horror Night Nightmares. It's a very interesting name. I think I've heard that somewhere before, in a forum or something. Yeah. But after Lady Luck's turn in 2011, we had 3 solid years of no icon at all. We had 3 solid years, except for Jim Jack cameos. We've had 3 solid years where the presenting marketing thing was The Walking Dead. And I think it was a sensible decision because The Walking Dead is such a recognizable brand and so very, very popular, it would bring in the people. And I think some person, probably in publicity and marketing, and maybe with the backup of higher-up powers, made that decision based on the notion that the public, not us hardcore fans who will go no matter what, but the general public, are best served by showing them a face that they recognize, a brand they recognize, you know, rather than something new that's strange and unknown to them. It's an unknown factor. There's risk involved. When you put up people like Lady Luck, you know, the public doesn't know who that is. They don't know what that means. Why is she supposed to be scary? You know, they may not get it. And I think, and they thought, you know, using a recognizable brand is better. And so they used The Walking Dead for 3 solid years. But then in 2015, they brought an icon back, Jack the Clown. Well, of course, it was the anniversary year, and Jack is the best-known icon. He has become, actually, a recognizable brand in and of himself. So this year, they did come up with an icon, Chance. And even though she's a new icon, in the sense that she'd never been the icon of an event before, she was still a proven brand, a proven recognizable brand after all. Am I doing Trump things? Ooh, stop that. A proven recognizable brand because after all, believe me, no, after all, she'd been there since 2007 and 2010, and especially in 2015 when she kind of stole the show from Jack a little bit. And so people knew who Chance was. They knew this is not a new face. They know Chance, and they're excited. Oh, there's Chance. We saw her in the show last year. Let's go back and see it again. And of course, it didn't hurt whatsoever if Chance has a certain very strong resemblance to a character that was all over 2016, you know, Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, all of that. You know, big popular character, big popular movie of the summer, so didn't hurt at all to have Chance as the icon. So that's sort of the idea. So I'm wondering if we're in a new iconic age, but not original, completely brand new icons that we've never seen before, but still recognizable brands. In other words, they can have original icons that is characters created by Universal for Horror Nights, but faces, characters that are already well established over the years. And if that's the case of what they're planning, what they're doing, which seems to be what they've been doing the past couple of years, we might see someone come back and be the icon this year that we've seen before. Might they bring back the caretaker, or the director, or the usher, or the storyteller? Possibly, to give them a second go. Damn this coat. Maybe. I thought about not doing this today because of the cough, but I still want to do it. I don't wait too much longer, it'll get sillier. Let's do it now while I can. Maybe, or maybe they'll take a character that is well known to the general public, because it's been at Horror Nights for years and years and years, and also especially to the fans who've been waiting for this character to get its rightful position at last. In other words, a character that might have been intended to be an icon but never got the chance. And that's an interesting idea. So perhaps we'll see somebody show up and get their event at last. And my suspicion is, if they go this way, if they do this, the icon could very well be Eddie. Now, I'm not saying it is Eddie. This is just a speculation. But I think there's a good argument for this, because Eddie is a known character, and the chainsaw thing and the mask, and he's you know, even if you have never seen Eddie before, the first thing you do when you see him is you think Leatherface, you think Hannibal Lecter, you think slasher movie. It's a sort of image that immediately resonates in the mind of any person in the general public. They'll get it. And they could bring Eddie back and give him the event, and they could have chainsaw maniacs all over the damn park. That'd be fun. Even more than they've had recently. All kinds. Even more variety than what they did this year. They could do all kinds of crazy chainsaw shit. And they could also flesh out his backstory, which has always been a bit, a little bit varied over the years. Who is Eddie anyway? Just who is he? How did he become Eddie? And he's Jack's brother. We now know he's Jack's twin brother. And like Jack, he was born way back in the 19th century in Shady Brook. The twins. But so there's supernatural angles to him as well. But just how did he become the monster he is? And that's an interesting question. It's never really been dealt with, and I think that would be a fascinating character. And there might be a clue. I don't want to play the game that so many people, oh look, this was an Easter egg in a house, it must be a house next year, because that's been disproven many times. But I don't think Amityville Horror is coming next year, sorry. There's all kinds of issues with that, rights issues and shit. I don't think it's going to be possible in the near future. But in the repository, of all places, amongst all the mysterious artifacts and supernatural items, was a very interesting one. A little can of chainsaw oil. And old-time fans know that chainsaw oil can is associated with Eddie. It first appeared in a 2004 website, I believe, as symbolizing Eddie for the House Horror Nights Nightmares. That was, you click on that, you find out about Eddie, like you clicked on the others and you find out about the other people. It popped up again in 2006 for Eddie on various places. And so we've seen it over the years on the websites. It might be a very much clue saying, hey, Eddie's coming back. I don't know, but it's interesting that showed up on the Nemesis Facebook page on the last night of the event. And that might just be a little clue, because it was pointed out to us, hey, did you see this in the repository? We're making it obvious now. It might be the way of saying, hey, last night of the event, we're giving you a little bit of something. That could be, I don't know. But it just makes me wonder about Eddie coming back. So that's my guess. And a little further speculation. If they continue this trend, then 2018, could we see Cindy get an event at last? And I think Eddie instead of Cindy next year, because there have always been some problems. Some people have some serious reservations about Cindy as an icon. Problems about, dead children or whatever it was that caused them to not use her in 2002 and then not use her in 2010. At the very last minute, they said, oh, we can't use Cindy as an icon, and they put Fear in instead. It was a late decision in 2010. because she was meant to be an icon twice and let go twice. So, will she actually be an icon eventually? I'm hoping the answer is yes. I'm hoping finally by 2018 they'll be able to use her. That would be fun. And then 2019, I don't know, but I suspect they'll pull somebody out of somewhere. They might bring back one of the other ones that have been icons before, like the usher, the caretaker, storyteller, or the director. Maybe director would be wonderful. I'd love to see him come back and get a second go as the solo event icon of an event instead of teaming up with the others. That'd be nice, but it might be someone else that's been established that has never been an icon before. Who could that be? Well, there is H.R. Blood and Guts, a fan favorite, who that has the potential of being a pretty amazing icon if they let him. So there's that. Couldn't be played by the same actor, but still it would be an interesting thing they could do for that. So then if they do that for the next couple of years, 2020, Halloween Horror Nights 30, there's only one person who should be the icon that year, and many people will understand me when I say the Terror Queen. It's 15-year cycles for the Terror Queen, right? She was sacrificed. The next time with the Queen will be 15 years later, and 2020 will be 15 years, and it will be Halloween Horror Nights 30. That's when they should bring the Terror Queen back. That's when they should bring back Terror Quentus. And that's when they should have, for the first time since 2004, a dual-part concept. Terror Quentus, after all, was in the islands, and so they could use part of the islands and part of the studios, leave Harry Potter out of it. And they could, in fact, do that. And I think that would be the best time to do a dual-part concept again, will be in 2020. At least that's what I'm, guessing. Of course, I could be completely wrong. There may not be an icon at all next year, but who knows? But my guess is Eddie. Okay, what about haunted houses, Jimmy? Okay, sure. There are a lot of IPs that people are talking about, buzzing about. I think The Conjuring is not a good one because it's in complete, total rights hell right now, trying to get the rights to Conjuring. I don't think that's going to happen, but there's one that's just about a sure thing. Now, there have been a lot of rumors about this. I don't know for a fact at all, but rumor has it that the contract they signed with Murphy and Falchuk and with FX and Fox, that contract was a multi-year deal. It makes sense. They did 3 seasons in an Uber house this year. So it just makes sense that if it is a multi-contract, and it's a multi-year deal, a multi-year contract, they would do another big Uber house of American Horror Story next year. And it was the most popular house this year, oddly enough, with the general public. Queue lines were always enormously long all night long. Rarely was a walk-on, unless you had express, but if you just walked on the regular queue, you used it. The earliest wait time I ever saw was like 30 minutes. And most of the time it was like up to nearly 3 hours long sometimes. So holy crap, people were always going into the house. Maybe because of where it was located, but people were going back in, going out, exiting. I went on that house 24 times, and I always did express. But coming out, I often saw the same people that I'd seen in a previous walkthrough. I said, damn, these people, I don't think whether they were still in the same queue, because it was usually much later in the evening, and the queue couldn't have been that long. But they actually spent enough time to go back in that house twice when the queue was enormously long, which means they probably didn't do many other houses that night. And if they liked it that much, and I think they've gotten a lot of positive feedback, it made House of the Year, and part of that is based on public feedback about the house and how much they like it. So yeah, I think it'd be silly not to want to do another American Horror Story house. I know some people didn't like the house. I personally loved it. It was my second favorite house last year. And it just seems logical. Do another big mega Uber house using the 3 seasons they didn't use this year. So it'd be Asylum, Covent, and Roanoke. It just makes sense. I've had some people say even it's a more than 2-year contract. So if they do continue in later years, they'll probably only do single seasons. So 2018, they might have the 7th season all by itself. So it'll be a smaller house, but they could do more scenes and more stuff from that season, whatever it's going to be. Because they're very tight-lipped over there, Murphy and Falchuk. They don't like giving away too much. So, I think that's kind of almost a given. Another one, which I think is really in the sure thing category, is The Mummy. Universal wants to compete with Disney with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Warner Brothers with the DC Comics Cinematic Universe films. They want to do something and they've already got in-house, they were the first ones to do characters from multiple films jumping back and forth, way back in the 40s with, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, House of Dracula, House of Frankenstein. You have all the Universal monsters in the same film. They have a proven track record. They want to revive that. They want to do a Universal Classic Monsters Cinematic Universe series. They already did Dracula Untold. They're going to do this year The Mummy with Tom Cruise of all people. It comes out, not this year, next year. It comes out summer of 2017. That would be perfect timing. If it opens and it opens big and it's a hit, especially if it's a total failure and flop, maybe not, but they've put an awful lot of money into making all these films. They're already in production to do Invisible Man and a couple others. I think Johnny Depp's in Invisible Man, and they're going to do a Phantom film and some of the others. So the wheels are already in motion, and there's no way corporate is going to allow them to have horror nights without the corporate synergy, without promoting this Universal Classic Monsters new franchise. It'd just be ridiculous. So it's just about a given. The Mummy will be a house next year. At least I think so. So that's 2 IPs right out of the bat. Now, other IPs that could be used, and I'm going to mention more than will actually be at the event, because there's only likely to be 9 houses, after all. But there's some that I think are rather likely. Trick or Treat. Michael Dowtry loved working with both Aiello and Murphy, and working on the Haunted House and Haunted Maze, and both Hollywood and Orlando. The Orlando version of Krampus was not as good as I would have liked. The one in Hollywood from the walkthrough videos I've seen was a lot better. So I hope they do a better job if they do Trick or Treat next year. There's a sequel coming out next year. Universal is releasing the sequel next year. So there's all sorts of reasons why Trick or Treat is bound to happen. I think it's a good shot. Maybe not as big as The Mummy and American Horror Story, but I think it's a good chance we'll be seeing Trick or Treat as a haunted house eventually. Now, other IPs. Well, other Universal films, horror films that might be considered, again, corporate synergy. The first Ouija film was a failure, but the sequel that just came out last month, the Ouija Origin of Evil, was a bit of a hit, and it was a rather good film, and people, hey, this is better than we thought it would be. That might make a really good, creepy little haunted house. I don't know if they would use it or not, but, that's a possibility. Another possibility is a M. Night Shyamalan horror movie coming out in February called Split. It's also released by Universal, and it James McAvoy plays a psychotic man who has 23 separate multiple personalities, real dissociative disorder going on there. One of them is a beast. He physically transforms into some kind of monster. We don't know what it is. They've teased it a little bit, but we don't see it yet in the trailer. But there's a drawing of a big furry werewolf-like thing. That would make a good haunted house if it is as good as I hope it might be. But Shyamalan is, some of his movies are awesome, some of his movies suck. So you don't know which way it's going to go. and again, that's in the category of a bit of a long shot, but it is a Universal release, so that makes it a possibility. If they, it's easier to get IPs when you already got the rights. All right, so those are definite possibilities. I think King Kong, I don't think so. They already got the ride at the islands. Haunted house doesn't make any sense. So much for that. And besides, kind of hard to do a giant monster in a haunted house. Godzilla, I don't think so. Unless you got screens. So, what else do we have? Well, there's been a trend lately, for the past several years, classic horror films from the 70s and 80s, campy films from the 80s, that kind of stuff. we might see something there. People have mentioned Hellraiser. That's a good possibility. They might want to do a Hellraiser house. They could do one based on the whole franchise and have characters from different films. And they could do some Hannibal Lecter thing, you know. They could do, they could do something based on Scream is unlikely. They could do something based on other films. That, you know, Killer Clowns is brought up every year. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the time this year. I don't know. But there's some films that I would love to see. The Lost Boys, I think, will make an awesome one. And it's, Ilo has not revealed what his dream projects are. But that's a film from the 80s. It's one that people have remembered seeing as kids. And, you know, and I would just love that. So then, you know, with Bill and Ted every year, we can make the joke. Bill S. Preston, vampire. Because Alex Winter, right? But can you imagine the facade? You go in and it's like the pier carnival sets with, you know, all the carnival attractions, and you have right there big stage with the big shirtless, buff, muscular saxophone player serenading you as you go into the house. Well, I'd like to see that. Maybe not everyone, but I think that would be fun. So, Lost Boys is one that I would love to see. Monster Squad would be awesome too. Lots of films in that category. Gremlins, you know, lots of films from the 80s, and that might make really good, interesting haunted houses. But who knows if they can get the rights? But those are possibilities. Come to mind. Okay. I would love to see him work with Joe Dante. Wouldn't that be awesome that he would just make it, you know. I'd love to see Joe Dante do an original haunted house based on his own wacky imagination. That would be quite fun. But who knows? Alrighty then. So, big long shot. Because television programs. Walking Dead. The rumors have been flying around that The Walking Dead is going to be a permanent attraction in Orlando like it is in Hollywood. If so, a Walking Dead haunted house is redundant. The attraction will be there, and that will be like an extra house almost. There's no confirm or deny yet, and Universal hasn't announced anything, but I keep hearing more and more rumors that there is going to be a Walking Dead house, a Walking Dead attraction. What I've heard over and over again from all sorts of people is that it's going to go in the Terminator building. They're going to take out that ride and replace it with the Walking Dead permanent attraction. Again, I have no idea if that's even remotely true, but I kind of hope it does, because then there won't be any more Walking Dead houses, and they could, you know, spend a little money for an animatronic tiger in a permanent attraction. You couldn't have a tiger in a haunted house. It'd be a little more difficult, even if it's a puppet, you know. Shiva. I don't think I'd love to see Shiva, but I don't think, you know, my old April Fool's gag about an actual wild animal in the house, that's never gonna happen. Sorry. Even with a restraining collar, electronic collar, the invisible fence thing, that's never gonna happen. Some asshole's gonna get them face bitten off if they have a real tiger. And besides, if they ever use a real tiger, that would be at Hallow Scream, where they actually have some available at Busch Gardens. Enough of that. I don't think Walking Dead's going back as a haunted house, but I think it might very well be a haunted attraction next year. That'll take care of that. Alright, other TV programs. Here are a lot about Stranger Things. I don't know if they get the rights to it anyway. There's a wonderful Stranger Thing moment in Bill and Ted this year, especially the final show. That was awesome, when all four of the kids popped up. Love that. Stranger Things might make an interesting house. The Upside Down does lead itself to some creepy ideas for a haunted house, all those lights and everything, and you know, the Demogorgon with his, you know, his face and all that might be fun. But I don't know if that would actually be something they would do. Again, rights issues. Other television programs. There's some great horror TV nowadays, and there's all kinds of things they could do and use. There's a TV program called The Exorcist. I heard a rumor that Mike Aiello is already looking at the possible rights after the success of The Exorcist movie house this year to do because the TV series is actual real legitimate sequel to the movie. I don't want to spoil too much, but that characters from the movie that show up years later in the TV program in unexpected ways. It's like, holy crap, oh my god, it all makes sense now that we know that so-and-so is really so-and-so. It's like, oh my god. Nexus' haunted house TV series Haunted House might be rather cool if they can get it. But you know, they've got deals with Fox now that seem to be working, because American Horror Story, it might open doors to other Fox projects. And so maybe we'll see a house based on the Exorcist TV program. That would be interesting. My personal thing I've wanted for years, speaking of Fox, is a Simpson Treehouse of Horror house, but again, I don't know if that'll ever happen. I've heard rumors about maybe a Halloween overlay. They change out the video inside the ride so that instead of going through Krusty Land, you go to the Treehouse of Horror. That rumor's been going on since they opened the Simpsons ride years ago, so God knows if that's probably just a rumor. Don't think that'll ever happen, but that would be awesome. I've already exceeded a half hour. I have to go to part 2